Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope your day is off to a fantastic start. Hope you guys enjoyed a very nice weekend. We got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Helps the channel grow, and it means a ton to us. We've got a decent MLB slate on tonight, and I have 5 picks to share for today's slate of games that I'm pretty excited to hand out to you guys. Just a reminder, we went 3-1 last week. Only one video last week in my return from vacation. We are back now, though, with an 80-56 record on the season with our props. So pretty good. Let's see if we can keep that good energy rolling into this week. Before we dive into the video, though, shout out to JLee5862, who won Friday's free Fade Me t-shirt giveaway. That's JLee5862. We will be in touch to get you your free Fade Me t-shirt. Shout out to JLee5862 for being the lucky winner. All right, guys, let's not waste any time. We got a lot of work to do here today. 5 picks. Let's dive right in. All right, guys, jumping right into the Outlier screen here, guys. Shout out to Outlier. They're the best sports betting tool on the market and the official sponsor of today's video and all of my player prop videos here on the channel. There's a special links down below in our description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial to check Outlier out for yourself. If you watched my videos before, you know what Outlier can do for you. If you're new here, stick around and watch the video just to get a little bit of insight into what Outlier can do. And just a heads up, what I show you in these videos, guys, just a little bit of what Outlier can provide, especially with like football season coming up, basketball on the horizon, that's a few months away down the road, but it goes across multiple sports. Outlier really does provide the best insight, not just for props, but for games, everything, parlays. It gives you so much insight into the data, the science that makes betting possible. It really is a useful tool. Even if they weren't a sponsor of the video series, I would still use Outlier. So guys, one more time, special link down below in our description, 7-day free trial to check it out for yourself. All right, guys, our first of 5 picks for today's slate. We're going to target the Toronto Blue Jays Baltimore Orioles game. We got a 3:05 p.m. first pitch here. We're going Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We're going over 1.5 total bases here. Again, always shop around for the best odds available. Right now, it looks like you can FanDuel, DraftKings, both -110. Those are good places to look. Also available, however, on Caesars Bet365 and on Underdog. Nothing wrong with using multiple sports books, guys. It's the smart thing to do if you're looking to make money off of sports betting. So here we go. Vladdy Jr., over 1.5 total bases here. And obviously, he's been on a really good run of late for the Blue Jays. You see 8 of his last 10 games. He has cashed this over 1.5 bases. He is on a 10-game hitting streak in general for Toronto, averaging 3.8 total bases per game over his last 10 games. And he was kind of having a quiet season heading into this little streak he's been on, but overall a 44% hit rate on the year for Vladdy Jr., 46 out of 104 games. He's cashed over, averaging 1.92 total bases per game. So the recent data looks pretty promising overall. If we scroll down below to the key matchup stats, you'll see a lot of great data here. You see Vladdy Jr. versus Zach Eflin dating back to 2018, 16 plate appearances, a 375 batting average with an 812 slugging percentage, 13 total bases, 3 extra base hits. He's had a pretty good run versus Zach Eflin over the last 5 or 6 years. And looking down below the splits here, Vladdy Jr. in 2024, 301 batting average. He is batting 306 versus right-handed pitchers, so slightly better, but basically the same. You see his extra base hit percentage, 34%. Across the board, you see besides his BABIP, they're all pretty much the same, with a slight tick up versus right-handed pitchers. But overall, you see pretty good numbers there for Vladdy Jr. And Zach Eflin, you see this year, 4.09 ERA, 261 batting average allowed, and a 35.7% extra base hit percentage allowed. Versus right-handed batters, there's an increase. You see 5.14 ERA, 279 batting average allowed. His slugging percentage takes a pretty good jump there to 470. And his extra base hit percentage, 36.2%. Overall, you see green across the board here. It's a really good matchup for a hitter who has been red hot of late. I expect him to keep that streak going, especially in this matchup here. Really solid prop. For -110 odds, I think you can't beat it. All right, guys, moving right along here. The next game I'm targeting here is the Yankees-Phillies game, 6:40 p.m. first pitch. I actually have 2 props coming from this game. Our first of 2 from this game and our second prop overall. We got JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies under 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're getting this from -125 on DraftKings, but if you do have Prize Picks available in your state, it is available on Prize Picks for -119 as well. And really across the board, the data is fantastic on this prop. You see 9 of his last 10 games, he has cashed his under. The only time he cashed the over was on July 23rd versus Minnesota, where he had 1 run and 1 hit in that matchup. You stretch that out over his last 20 games, still pretty good, 70% hit rate. 14 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the under, an average of 1.4 HRRs per game. In 2024 so far, a 54% hit rate on this under, 30 out of 56 games this year for Real Muto. He has cashed the under, an average of 1.89 HRRs per game. And the head-to-head data here, you see 100% hit rate versus the New York Yankees in their last two matchups, both of them, of course, taking place in April of last season. So yeah, the overall data looks pretty good here. If we go down below to the matchup stats, it gets a little bit better, if that could even be possible considering how good the stats were already. I see JT Realmuto this year, a 250 batting average. It drops versus right-handed pitchers to 225, which obviously is good for us, not very good for him. But you see across the board, you see his numbers do slightly decrease, or a pretty decent decrease, I should say, versus right-handed pitchers. And Luis Gil, the Yankees pitcher, you see a 173 batting average allowed this year, which is really, really fantastic. That number increases even more for us to 149 batting average allowed versus right-handed batters. So he's giving up even less hits against right-handed batters. Now, the ERA does increase slightly to 3.53, but I'm more worried here about the batting average allowed, which does drop pretty significantly. And you see his home runs per 9 are already low to begin with. It drops to 0.6 versus right-handed batters. His OBA allowed 266 to 246. So across the board, really solid data here. Again, another great prop here for minus 125. Pretty solid. All right, guys, our third prop overall, our second prop from this game, we're going Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies, under 1.5 total bases here. Now, this one, the odds are a little bit higher. You can get it on Caesars for minus 151. BetMGM for Bet360, for minus 155. DraftKings for minus 160, and Underdog for minus 180. You see here Kyle Schwarber. Now, the last two games, he had some pretty big games, the last couple versus Cleveland there. You see 8 total bases in both of those games. I think he had 2 home runs last night, which is pretty crazy. But 8 of his last 10 games, he had cashed this under 8 consecutive games heading into those 2 games versus Cleveland. Obviously, that average of 1.9 is skewed because of the last couple games, some really big numbers. But you stretch the data out, he's been covering the under pretty consistently. You see a 75% hit rate over the last 20 games for Kyle Schwarber. 15 of his last 20 games, an average of 1.7 total bases per game. Again, numbers are a little bit skewed because of those last 2 games. In 2024, so far, a 62% hit rate on this under. 58 out of 94 games this year, Kyle Schwarber has cashed the under, an average of 1.76 total bases per game. And if we scroll down below here to the key matchup stats, it's not bad at all. Kyle Schwarber, only 2 plate appearances versus Luis Gil dating back 2018. He has not hit off of him yet. He did get a walk in one of the 2 at-bats, so 500 OBP, but he has not hit off of Luis Gil yet. Since 2018. Kyle Schwarber this year is batting 248 overall, but versus right-handed pitchers, a significant drop down to 183 batting average, a 205 BABIP, 202 ISO. Now, his extra base hit percentage does significantly increase to 48.7%. We don't like that. That's the risky part of this prop, but his batting average is so low that we have to hope that he won't even get a touch of the ball here in this game. Look at Luis Gil. You see 173 batting average. Again, we just talked about this in the last prop. 173 batting average allowed, 3.10 ERA. Now, versus left-handed batters, his ERA actually decreases to 2.59, which is pretty good, but his batting average allowed does increase to 2.01. Still, a 2.01 batting average allowed. It's still a really good number, guys. Even though it is an increase from what his normal is, it's still a really good number. Again, the alarming part here a little bit is that his slugging percentage does increase versus left-handed batters, and his extra base hit percentage allowed does decrease slightly, but still 44.4% is pretty high. So basically, when these guys are getting a touch of the ball, they're getting a piece of that ball off of him. They're hitting it pretty well, but again, we have to hope here with the low batting average allowed. And with the low batting average by Kyle Schwarber versus right-handed pitchers, we got to hope that he doesn't even get a piece of the baseball here in this game. A little risky, yes, but the odds are where they are for a reason. I think always coming off games like he just had 2 massive games. He had 2 home runs last night. I think fading him is probably the best option. I typically like, especially, this is true in any sport. This is baseball, basketball, football. Anytime a player has a really massive game, not a horrible idea to fade them the next, because it's very rare that a player, unless obviously we're talking about the best of the best in the game, it's very rare they're going to have consecutive, a long streak of this. Especially someone like Kyle Schwarber, who I am a fan of, but I wouldn't consider Kyle Schwarber one of the top 10 players in baseball. If this was Shohei Ohtani who had those 2 games, I'd still probably take his over tonight, but this is Kyle Schwarber, and again, he had cashed in 8 consecutive games prior to those 2 games. So I like the under here for Kyle Schwarber. All right, guys, we got 2 picks left in today's slate, but first, we're about to hit the 10-minute mark in today's video, so comment 10 down below if you are still watching at this point. As always, I appreciate those who stick around and watch through the entire video and don't just click on the picks looking for the picks, because the important thing with these videos, and we talk about this all the time, is that yes, we're giving you guys picks, but we're also giving you guys the data and the analysis, the reason as to why we're taking those picks. So it's important to watch, because if you just go off the picks, it's usually the people who just go off the picks alone that are the first to come in the comment section and say you suck because they lost. I'm giving you the data, the reasons why I like the pick, so you can make an educated decision on whether you like it or not. Like the Kyle Schwarber prop, for example. You see the extra base hit percentage, you see that the numbers are high. You may look at that and say, maybe I'll pass on that. But it's the whole point of these videos is to give you guys the analysis, the reasonings behind these picks, so that you guys can make an educated decision on if you want the pick or not. So as always, guys, I appreciate you guys watching all the way through. Comment 10 down below if you made it this far. And as always, guys, the link for those picks, for all the picks for today's video, will be down below in the description. All right, next up, we are targeting the Twins-Mets game, 7:10 p.m. first pitch. We're going Brandon Nimmo here of the Mets, under 1.5 HRRs, hits, runs, RBIs. Against for -110 on DraftKings, but also available on BetMGM and Prize Picks as well. Data also pretty good on this one too here, guys. 9 of his last 10 games, he has cashed the under, an average of 0.7 HRRs per game. And on the year so far, a 53% hit rate on this under for Brandon Nimmo. 52 out of 99 games this year, he's cashed the under, an average of 2.14 HRRs per game. He's actually had a pretty good year for the Mets, but of late, you see he's a little bit of a cold streak here for the New York Mets. Also, the head-to-head data looks pretty good here. You see, 2 of the last 3 times he's faced off with the Minnesota Twins, all this, of course, taking place last season, he did cash the under in 2 of those 3 games. Scrolling down below here, one of the many cool things, I should say, that Outlier does provide is insights. They give you guys specific data points to look at, to keep in mind when taking these props. And right here, you see Brandon Nimmo has failed to exceed 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 11 of his last 12 games, an average of 0.8 HRRs per game. So a little bit more extended from what I showed you of the last 10 games. Over the last 12 games, this has been true as well. See Brandon Nimmo this year, 233 batting average. Overall, the number does drop versus right-handed pitchers to 223. So overall, 233 is not exactly a great batting average, and it does decrease even lower to 223, which obviously is good for us here when betting this under. And looking at the matchup here versus Simeon, Woods, Richardson, now there obviously is no direct head-to-head data here versus Brandon Nimmo, but overall, a 224 batting average allowed and a 327 ERA versus left-handed batters, a very significant increase in our favor. You see his ERA drops to 180, which is fantastic. His batting average allowed drops to 202. Across the board, everything a significant decrease there in the numbers versus left-handed batters. So he's been pretty good overall this year for Minnesota, but especially versus left-handed batters, he has been fantastic. I think it's a really good matchup here. The data already gives us a pretty good reason to take this prop, but then you add in the pitching matchup. It's a really good prop here for -110 odds. Again, you can't really beat that. All right, guys, and our 5th and final prop from today's slate, we are going with the Mariners-Red Sox game, 7:10 p.m. first pitch. We're going Logan Gilbert here of the Mariners, over 5.5 strikeouts here. You can get that from -135 on DraftKings, also available on FanDuel, Caesars, and on BetMGM for varying odds. You look at the data here for Logan Gilbert, his last 10 games, 7 of his last 10 games, he has cashed this over an average of 6.6 strikeouts per game. He has cashed this in 7 of his last 8 games, though. So over the last 8 games, he's been really on the money for Seattle. Even if you stretch this out to the last 20 games, you see 14 of his last 20 games he's cashed the over, an average of 6.2 strikeouts per game. So far in 2024, a 71% hit rate. Again, 15 out of 21 games he's cashed the over here. And the head-to-head data, you see here, one of the last 2 times faced off with the Red Sox, he cashed the over. The one time they played this season on March 30th, he had 8 strikeouts and what was a 4-3 win for Seattle. So pretty good numbers there for Logan Gilbert. If you go down below to the numbers here, you see pretty good data there. The Red Sox batting versus right-handed pitchers overall this year, they are bottom 10 in Major League Baseball with a 23.4% strikeout percentage. That's really good for us, obviously. Their walks per strikeouts, 23rd in Major League Baseball, which obviously is really good for us. Although their hitting has been pretty well overall, their strikeout rate has been pretty high. Now, over the last 30 games, the numbers have increased for Boston a little bit. You see they're 19th in strikeout percentage, 18th in walks per strikeouts. So a little bit better, but still not good. They're still bottom half of the league in that category. So still a pretty good match. We see Logan Gilbert, his 78th percentile for his strikeout rate across the board. A lot of green. So really good matchup here for Logan Gilbert, a guy who's been cashing this pretty consistently overall. And you're going to match up versus a Red Sox team that tends to strike out more often than not. All right, guys, so that's all 5 picks in today's slate. Again, as always, I don't do the pin comment thing like Ev does where he puts all the picks, all of his. These are my final plays. These are not my leans. These are final plays for today. If you click the link down below for the picks, all the picks are right here. You click the link, it'll take you right to this page. It presents you all 5 of my picks, and it's as easy as clicking add to bet slip. It'll take you right to the sports book and input it. And all you got to do is put how much money you want to put. You can bet them individually as a parlay. Whatever you want to do, you can do it this way. So it even shows right here. Tailing picks is easier than ever, and that's especially thanks to Outlier. One more time, shout out to Outlier for sponsoring today's video. But guys, those are all 5 picks from today's slate. Feeling pretty good about this slate overall. Some really good data across the board. There really wasn't anything shaky. And the only one was the Kyle Schwarber prop, but even that one, the data was still pretty solid in our favor. So guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by Christmas. Now, there's still a pretty long ways away. We are over 80,000. Can we get 20,000 more by December? I think we definitely can, but we need your help to get there. So please make sure, if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. We got a ton of great content here on the channel right now between Ev and our new man Trey, who's absolutely crushing it here on the channel. Tons of great stuff coming. Football season right around the corner. We have a lot of great stuff coming for football season, so you guys don't want to miss that. But guys, thank you very much for watching. I will be back tomorrow with a new MLB Player Prop video. Until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Have a great day.